channel today is all about building your author platform from scratch and advice that we have for authors. So starting your author journey can feel overwhelming, especially when you're told you need an author platform. I mean, what does that even mean? And that's before you even have readers. So today's conversation is all about taking that pressure off and giving you practical, doable steps to start building your presence one piece at a time. We have an incredible lineup of speakers today. So Liz Dubelman is an Emmy award-winning storyteller and founder of Vidlit, who has worked with everyone from Carrie Fisher to Bill Bryson to help authors connect their stories to the right audiences. Nataly Restokian is a journalist, award-winning author, and public speaker whose powerful journey as a storyteller and advocate reminds us how authenticity can be the foundation of every platform. Kim Speed is a brand visibility expert and best-selling author of Branding on a Shoestring. She helps authors clarify their message and confidently show up as the experts that they are. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Monica Martinez. I'm the head of marketing here at Tellwell Publishing, and I've been working here for the past 9 years. I've helped hundreds of authors launch and market their books, but my current focus is actually on expanding Tellwell's brand visibility and authority in the publishing space. We will have a Q&A at the end. Please do drop your questions in that Q&A tab or even in the chat. Okay, so when working with authors at Tellwell, I did that for a couple of years on the book marketing side of things. We often highlighted the importance of building an online presence and starting this before your book is even published. So for authors who are just starting out, maybe they have a website, maybe they don't, maybe they don't really have a large following. And there's a little bit of fear on the book marketing side. What's the very first step that they should take to start building an author platform? How about we go with Liz and then Nataly?
Go ahead, Liz. Go ahead. Okay. I talked about this earlier today, but I always start with an email list and like doing my Kegels at a red light. I am reminded every Friday I go through all of my texts and all of my emails and all of my phone calls, and I see who I've had real relationships with, and those are people that I reach out to put on my email list. After I have created an email list, I create a digital home, which would be the website, so that everything is organized in one place.
Love that. We'll talk about email list a little bit more later on. Nataly, would you like to add your thoughts?
For me, the idea of platform, I think like this. Let's say you're a housewife and suddenly you want to become an author. What do you do? What do you have? You have your platform that you're using for your personal interest. So for me, that's how I started, because coming from Lebanon, Arab world, not an actress before, just like I was there, what I did that I started using my ideas on videos. The videos of Facebook and on TikTok, on Instagram. And because my second book, which thank God, I love publishing with Tellwell, by the way. I'm publishing with them. So before the book came out, the ideas of what the book is going to talk about, I started putting videos related to those topics. For example, my second book, it's about salvation, truth of the Bible. So what I did, I started doing tips on weekly basis, twice a week, posting on my Facebook, on my Instagram, on my YouTube, on my TikTok. But these people did not know that I'm going to come up with a book. But I was doing things that might interest them, that will be helpful for their needs. And they started following. So my TikTok started having now videos from 100 or 200, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I have some TikTok videos, it's 10,000. Not all of them, but some of them. Why? Because it's connecting with them. So now that we are changing the cover and I'm going to post it, already my book is being sold. Why? Because it's related to that. So even if I'm going to start from scratch and I know nothing, what I can do is you have to see who your audience can be, what is the topic related to your book, and simply write small stuff related to it. For example, if it's for kids, you write, my children go to school, put videos about children. Or if it is something related to scary movies, what could scare you? Things about that. Because there are a lot of things on internet you can use to hone the ideas and bring those things into life by videos. And then when you bring your book out, you're already using that. But be careful not to ever post things which are personal. Now I use my platforms only for professional things. So that's what I do in a simple way, and it's working.
Good. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. Kim, did you want to jump in and add your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with both of the speakers. Liz, yes, definitely you have to get started right away on building that email list. And Natalie, you definitely should be on social media. That's a great free place to start getting your message out there. I probably think there's maybe a few people that aren't as bold and courageous as you to do video. So I would say they don't all have to do video. Um, so choose what works for you, because if you think that, oh my gosh, the only way to do this is to get on video and then that makes you stop, don't worry about it. Choose a different way. If writing is your thing, then figure out how to do stories and publish long content. You can also think about the right platform and not be on every platform. You know, if you're in the business sector, you know, LinkedIn is a great place to start building an audience. If it's more of a lifestyle or personal, then you might choose Instagram or Facebook. And if you do want to do video, also consider TikTok, because that is a great platform.
Yes.
But what I would say is always be making sure that you eventually give people an opportunity to find you, like take them from the social media platform into your own world, which is your email list, which you own, which is really key.
Well, that's a great segue into the topic of building an email list, which we've definitely heard mentioned several times throughout today and throughout the whole summit. And it's such an important aspect because the email list is something that you control. You don't control the algorithms. And if anyone was here from Miriam's talk yesterday, she was saying that, you know, the algorithm determines if the people following you will even see your content, whereas you control who gets to see that email. And so in terms of building an email list, you know, how does an author actually begin doing that?
I think this might be something I just mentioned. You start doing it by looking at your friends and family, your contacts, your writer ecosystem. We like to call it writer ecosystem. The people who want to support you, and you ask them to share. I often say that people should include, if they feel they're feeling really down about their list not growing, include in your list. You know, I'm glad you found this in your email. I'm glad you found this interesting. Perhaps you know someone else you'd like to share this with. If that's a kindness, that's something that you can do for me. And people will do that, especially if they care about you.
That is a great place to start. Just like with anything, you know, you start with your inner circle, family and friends, and then you kind of build out from there. Kim, well, what about you? What are your thoughts? What's been working for you at least?
That's exactly how I started in the beginning, was one by one, you know, and going out. Networking is a great place to start having those conversations. When people say to you that they'd love to connect with you, give them an opportunity to go through what I call, you know, your mini funnel, which is signing up for your list. Say, this is the best way to stay in touch with me, and give them a place to sign up. And say, and you'll also get, you know, information on what I'm doing and know more about me. Plus we can get together, and, you know, it's just the great place to first start. And it's personal, and you've had a conversation. It's all about building relationships and getting people to want to follow you. So the other thing is, don't try to get everybody on your list, because that's not going to help you. So I know there's people that'll go out there and, you know, just it's like collecting garbage, you know, garbage in, garbage out. Get quality people on your list. Less quality is way better than, you know, a bunch of unqualified leads.
Yeah, because you want people to open the emails and then engage with your content and your platform. Nataly,
Mhm.
what about you? You've talked about social media. Do you remove people from social media?
Yeah, for the thing is, for the email, I'm gonna say from my own experience that people around me, they are all Lebanese because I come from Lebanon, and most of them, they have a story to tell, but they don't like to read. So let's take the worst case scenario. What if people around you, they are old in age, they don't like to read, and they just buy your book and they say, okay, we cannot give to somebody else. What then we can do? I'm giving the worst case scenario because that's what happened with me. So what I did in that situation, I just connected with the Lebanese embassy. I said, oh, I come from Lebanon. I have a book. I want to come and visit you, because sometimes, as they were saying, some things wouldn't work for us because we have certain different circumstances, situations that it's blocked all around us. So what I did is, like, I started connecting with Toastmasters. I went there because these people, even though they don't know me, I said, I want to have engaging speaking experience with you guys. I took my book to the Lebanese embassy here, and then I went online. I started seeing communities that are like for women who have been raped, women who had had trauma, because my first book was about things that happened in the celebrity world, in the Arab world. So these things, these people, I said, I want to send you a book. May I have your email? That was the way, because I was unable to be supported by the people I knew around me. I don't know if this could help you guys, but that's how my book started to go around, from the communities, just calling them and sending them a copy.
Definitely. I mean, in events like this, using other people's audiences and building a list through the different speaking engagements, but it doesn't have to be, a big event. It could be even smaller book clubs, or, libraries are a great place to do a book talk of some sort. There's so many different ways to sort of build community, but you want to definitely be thinking on the other side of that. How do I bring people sort of, into my community and make sure that you can continue engaging with them after that event is over. And so,
excuse me, but I want to say also something, that the thing is that every time you tell them, I'm not shy to say this. They say, oh, give me the book. I say, I want to give you the book, but I want the rest of the people to buy the book, and don't give the book to anybody else, because I'm working with a publishing company. I want numbers to go up. Liz is laughing. Yeah, sometimes
I don't say that. Yeah, go ahead.
Because you have to remove the filter, we have to at least cover up the expenses. So you cannot leave the book going around from one person to another. So I am very careful. I give away books, and I say, can you give me an email of somebody who will be interested? But they have to be people who are intellectual. I just don't give away books just like that.
I carry the QR code for my email list, which is a Substack on my phone. And I make money through my Substack, and I give away the book. And I ask people that have read the book that, as a kindness, can you please leave a review?
Yes.
A review is almost as valuable as money.
Exactly.
And even with Amazon, when we look at Amazon as being really, the number one driver of book sales in terms of being a platform and distribution channel for independent authors, the number of reviews really drives the algorithm. It's something I don't think authors don't necessarily realize, but if you hit a certain number of reviews, the algorithm will show that book to more people. So just on the subject of Amazon, when building your, different features on the author platform on there, there's a couple of different ways to optimize your presence on Amazon. So let's spend a little bit of time chatting about that, because I think there's a lot of features on there that are so beneficial for authors that are underutilized. And so how can authors optimize their presence on Amazon? Who would like to start?
You're referring to A+ content and to author pages and things.
Amazon Author Central as well. And there's the giveaways.
Amazon Author Central used to be so much better. And now it isn't. And that's the problem with building your house on rented land. That's why because you're building your house on Bezos's land and not really building up your own house. But it is very important that you keep your Author Central pages up to date, that you keep your keywords and your categories. You can change them. You can see what's working, what's not working. And A+ content is another way to do that. And you can see in the back of your KDP, under the marketing tab, there will be A+ content. A lot of times your publishers will do it for you. If you don't have a publisher that will do it for you, you can do it yourself. I know everyone's gotten used to using Canva, and A+ content is that extra little content that either is giving you a comparison, this book is like this book, or taking pages from the book, or quotes from the book, or something graphic, and putting it on the Amazon site. There is also, if there is confusion in the marketplace on Amazon, which sometimes happens if you have a similar name to someone else, you can do some small ads. I don't recommend ads on Amazon, but if there is confusion in the marketplace, I do say spend a little bit of money on ads.
Just on the subject of A+ content, in case not everyone's familiar with that, I think it came up in a previous conversation and we got some questions around that. Can you just explain a little bit what the A+ content is, and then specifically for authors, what you recommend or how you recommend that they take advantage of it?
Well, can I show you A+ content? A+ content is on your
You can share your
Amazon.
screen.
I'm going to see if I can find one. I wasn't quite ready for this, but so for example, I know one.
Well, Liz is looking for that. I have to say, one of the things is that I don't touch my Amazon. I have somebody that does that. So, and that's why I would say working with the publisher is really good.
Yeah.
And having somebody that knows that, because I don't have time for that. So having an expert behind you is really valuable for that.
I understand that.
Tim's,
Let
is this
me
yours?
share. Oh, are you sharing?
I think Tim's got one on here, right? Tim,
You have it? Okay. I
This
have
is
one. Yes, exactly like this. Popular highlights in the book, the 4 laws of behavioral change. You have control over all that. You can, Atomic Habits, perfect example. Atomic Habits is a perfect example because they've relaunched this book so many times. And relaunching the book for them means a new, same ISBN number. If you change the ISBN number, you lose the reviews. But if you don't change the ISBN number and you just change the content on the page, or the cover, or something like that, then you're, yes, and you can put in your own editorial reviews. All this stuff is A+ content. They're nice templates. It's not very hard to do.
Yeah, it's a great example for anyone that is looking for inspiration on what to put on there. And of course, Canva is a free tool that you can easily create those kind of quotes or reviews from other parties to really highlight on there. So yeah, thanks, Tim, for sharing that. So on the subject of platforms, I mean, we're talking about building your own author platform. And of course, a lot of people do that by utilizing all these other platforms, whether it be social media or something else. So I'd love to hear which platforms we can go through the panelists that you're really loving and that are really working well for your audience. As we've heard, you want to hang out with your audience hangs out, and that's so different depending on the genre and on your ideal reader. So Liz, I know you mentioned in your presentation earlier today that you're loving Substack. That's something that I think is fairly new. We're starting to hear people talking about building their writing community on there. So maybe you can talk about that if that's your preferred platform, or unless there's something else.
No, my preferred platform is Substack as a hub, because it involves, for both myself and for my clients, it involves just more writing. And that's what I do, is I write, and that's what I love to do. So Substack gives me 4 things. One is it gives me an organized email list that I own myself. So I'm not building it up for Zuckerberg or for MailChimp or anything. I own that list and I own the content on it. The second thing it gives you is another website. It's always good to have another website because SEO, because you just want to be found wherever you are. You want to be found. It also is great because it's a blogging platform that becomes the hub of all of your social media. So when you put up a Substack, at the end, it gives you a bunch of assets that you can use on social media, including making a video and or using your voice or an AI voice to make a short video of some of the text that you've put up. And the last thing is it doesn't cost you any money, with the potential of making money. So you can charge for it, or you cannot charge for it. I don't charge for it, and often people will donate money to me. And as I said before, I probably take in about $2,000 a year just on Substack, and I'm not charging. I'm not putting up a paywall, and that's not going to change my life, but it is going to buy me some coffee. And
Yeah. I mean, hey, $2,000 is better than $0, right? So, and it can only just grow from there. So Nataly, you talked about social media. Which platforms are you loving? You know, what's really kind of helped you find your ideal readers?
TikTok, honestly. Let me tell you something. It's very funny that I didn't even know that I'm able to do it there. And by the way, thank you, Liz, for the information. I'm going to go and check out Substack. I've never done it, but it seems very interesting. So I'm so grateful that you're sharing that with us. Thank you.
it's a whole ecosystem. I'd be happy to help you if you need help.
Wow. Yeah, I would love that. So the TikTok for me is very interesting because everybody that is following my videos are the people who are now buying my book. So
Great.
because yeah, and I said like a little bit because the first book didn't make so much because it was like somehow the COVID thing, and I wasn't so good on internet stuff like that. But for me, TikTok, even though it's for young people, it's what you have message. And now the new generation are very bored. I mean, it's more than 2 minutes, you're done. It's the first couple of seconds. And for me, like, how am I gonna do it? How am I gonna do it? But now it's like I know how to catch their interest in a way to do it fast because things are moving very fast. And I'm not going to say that we, the old generation, are so much more deeper than them, but yes, we are, because for them, everything is like chop, 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 chop. But we have to go fast because we want the new generation to come to us and we have to go to them. And TikTok is amazing because it's very funny. Like somebody wrote to me, "Who is your publishing company?" I say, "Well, I love the cover." And I say, "Yeah." And then the other person said, "We're posting it on Amazon, the review." And I said, "Yeah." And I don't know this person. And it's like, the review is not there. So they are engaging with me through TikTok. And I never thought someone my age would be doing that. So for me, it works. And I'm saying it might not work for others, but because I started with my videos and the videos are connecting to the topic of my book, that's why.
Yeah, I love that the platform that you're hanging out in is actually leading to sales. You know, that's the important aspect of it. Kim, what about you? Which platforms are really working for you in terms of promoting your book and getting the word out there?
So LinkedIn is big for me because I have B2B clients, and I like it because it has expanded its offerings so much. It used to feel like, or we expected it to be just like your resume site or a job search site. But now it has become so much more of a community and social, and people talk about everything. So I wouldn't say that if it's not just B2B anymore. It's people on there talking about all kinds of things. So you can also do a newsletter on there. You can do video as well. So they have really expanded, and I do a lot. I spend a lot of time there, and I also have a Facebook group for my community, which I've had for a while, and that's where I have everybody that I kind of know. Or at least I know the sort of 6 degrees of separation of people. I invite people to come and talk on there, and it's a way for me to give back. So I would say my Facebook group and LinkedIn, and then of course driving them to my email list because I do a newsletter each week.
Okay, perfect. And so for the email list, once people start building and they have a decent, email list, how do you engage with them at that point? You know, what kind of content, how often do you, know what, you don't want to motivate them to unsubscribe. So like, what's the right cadence to communicate with your audience so they're not getting frustrated, but they're actually, wanting to be part of that community? And what kind of content specifically are you sending out to them? We can start with you and then work our way.
So like I said, I do a newsletter. I do it weekly. So that's just one of the emails that I send out. With that one, I always make it subject matter to the type of people like entrepreneurs, things that they'd be, looking to get answers on. I talk about AI, I talk about branding, I talk about marketing. That's what my community wants to know about. And then I also do, I tell people about the interview. So every Tuesday, I do another one talking about the interview in the group. I will also share other things throughout the week sporadically, but I do at least two emails a week for sure. And some of them are giving away above and beyond that, are giving away things, information, or I could be talking about somebody else. So I use it to help other people as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Liz, what about you? How do you engage with your email list?
I write once a week, and I write the first half of the newsletter is marketing tips, and the second half is fiction, because that's my area that I like the best. I like writing fiction. Um, my husband is a writer for the New Yorker and other magazines, and he's a political satirist. He doesn't follow the cadence I follow. He just puts things out when he feels like it. And it's been very good for our marriage, because he leaves it all on the page, and that way I don't have to hear it all.
I love that everybody has a different strategy. That's fair. When the inspiration moves them, what a writer thing to say, right? Nataly,
In the morning.
and Nataly, what about you? Do you?
Yeah, I don't very much concentrate on the email except when the trailer of the book comes out. And now I'm working on the book. Because for me, the audience they read my book because it is based on my true life events, but I have done it as a fiction. It's connecting to my own personal life. So for me, I know that they will love that way, and it works for me. So the first thing I do is when the trailer comes out, that's how I connect the trailer. I do the attachment, and this is the book. If you want to get the book, you go there, and that's what I do, because I don't have tips or things that Liz and Kim are doing, because I do it on weekly basis, 3 times a week in the videos. So actually, it's not very a basic thing for me to connect always on in the email.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I do have a good tip that often when my writers come to me and they say, I don't know what to write about anymore, I tell them to put together a Spotify playlist about or what they listen to when they're writing and why. And that makes they get so happy. I can't tell you how much music makes them happy. And it may be classical, and it may be rock, and it may be country, and maybe rap, but they always have a reason behind it, and it's great.
One of the
I
trends
love
that I
that.
really like, especially you kind of see it more in like the romance book genre, which is having your playlist that people your readers can listen to. And often they make them available on Spotify. And so I love that kind of
That
taking,
too.
the sort of 3D user journey on there. So we've heard about, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to jump in and say one of the things while you're writing the book is telling people about, where you're at, and maybe talking about a character or how you came up with that. If you're into the fiction, because I know a lot of people think, and I saw somebody say, is this just for nonfiction? It's not. It's not at all. And Liz, I was so glad to hear you say that you like writing fiction. So hopefully
Worse than that, I love marketing poetry. It's one of my favorite things to market.
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
really interesting to see how interactive, the writing experience is. And the more the author can bring the reader into the writing process, and having them being part of even, the cover design, for example, by showing them different cover options and, asking their take and doing these polls and things like that. So they're part of that experience, during the actual ideation and then the publication of the novel. That's just going to build such a more loyal following as you go along. So we've heard some incredible strategies here for book marketing, from building an email list, website, to the different types of platforms that we're using. What other, aside from those, I just want to make sure that we sort of covered all different bases, but what other book marketing strategies that maybe people haven't thought about have been really effective for actually driving book sales? And please do feel free to add in something that you thought would have worked, but actually, didn't work at all. you would like to
Okay.
start?
Natalie.
Before the book came out, I just started visiting different churches in Toronto and Quebec and even online. And I said, I'm publishing a book. It's about salvation. It's about the truth of the Bible. I started talking about it. So, and then I went to the church last week, for example, Toronto, and I took my first book with me. And I said, I published this book, and this book has been since 2028. It got 2 awards, and now this is my second book. You can go online and see it. And I said, I'm not here to sell my book. Really, I wasn't there to sell my book because I was there to share my testimony. However, taking my books with me, they were young people who started like, we want to see where can I get it? Because I think that it's not getting the physical books with you and taking it somewhere with boxes can make like a book launch like I did for my first book. I'm going to do it for this one, but I cannot do it in every city because I'm not married to a relative of Onassis. So let's take it. So what I do is I take 2 copies and I give to the pastor or the person who's inviting me there, and I share my story and I put the trailer of my first book and I say, I really don't push it, and I say, but it's a beautiful story and it will change your lives, and if you have anything to ask about the characters, you can get back to me because it will inspire and change their lives related to rape, to marriage, to fame in the Arab world, to the truth of the Bible. So many things that I can relate to. So for me is to concentrate which kind of communities will welcome me. And after I leave, they will go online and order from Amazon rather than taking boxes and going from place to place.
Yeah, I love that. Sort of incorporating, it's sort of like not a separate thing that you do on the side. It's something that you just incorporate and take with you throughout your day. And for people that were here for Dr. Winston McIver's talk, he's a family physician, and he was in his office and he had the book like on a poster and it displayed in the background. And he was saying, as he would see patients throughout the day, they'd be really, they would be there wanting him to sign the book and just kind of incorporating in that way that I think sometimes as authors, we're quite shy to do that. The self-promotion thing is very much sometimes like, I can't be like bragging about my book. There's a lot of this kind of mindset thing that comes up. So feel free to touch on that as well. But yeah, who would like to follow up on that?
But I don't want to forget, because on that point, I want to say something. When we see that we're bragging, that will be a problem, because in this case, we have to change our mindset and we say we're inspiring and helping them and guiding them. When you change your mindset, it will change your approach, the way you speak to people, the way that you have confidence, your self-esteem, and it will help us.
Definitely, for sure. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I was talking about today, is really about finding your voice and unmuting yourself. Don't be apologizing for who you are, and be who you are, not somebody else. But one of the interesting ways that I got book sales was I went out and I started to talk about it. I put myself out there and I announced that I was the upcoming author of the book Branding on a Shoestring. And I started to let people know, and that did a couple of things. It got people to ask me more about it, what's it going to be about. It also made me accountable. But one of the really interesting ways that I started to sell books was I actually, um, I would research with people, CEOs of companies, and then I would go back to them and ask them if I could use certain quotes and things from their book. And then I gave them the opportunity to be a sponsor of the book. And with that, it gave them I gave a bronze, a gold, and a platinum level, and they would get a certain amount of books with that. So that was really helpful.
Very cool. Yeah, I love that.
So what Kim's talking about is gamifying it. And that is a very cool idea. That's a genius idea. What I did was my book was called, one of my books was called, What Was I Thinking? 58 Bad Boyfriend Stories. And what I did was created a holiday that took place on February 15th. It was called Come to Your Senses Day, or C2YSD, and created an entire fictionalized story behind it, made a video, and got on a lot of national TV because they had no programming for the day after Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, you have a lot of programming. Christmas, you have a lot of programming. Find a day they don't have a lot of programming, where there aren't a lot of articles written, and try to get in that way. So that was really fun. I had a great time doing that.
It's amazing the, amount of diversity in strategies and tactics. And I think it can be overwhelming for authors. And so, I mean, understandably, they're getting into it for the craft of writing. And then they find out, especially as an independent author, that actually there is a whole other set of skills and business, that they have to take on in terms of promoting and the book marketing side of things. It's a whole other full-time job. And understandably, it can be overwhelming. So any advice for authors that may be feeling like that, and just kind of the, a couple of steps that they can take to move forward in promoting their book?
I think of marketing as creativity turned outward, so that you are you're taking the same creativity, as you could see, from creating your book, but you're turning it outward to make sure that your book is getting read. Marketing isn't the enemy of art; it's the amplifier. And once you start to think of it that way, it makes it a whole lot easier, because if you just write the book and no one reads it, you're only getting half the experience. And really, something magical happens when somebody reads your book and says to you, "You write the way I feel." It's the greatest feeling in the world.
Oh, that's so true. I remember the first time I got a response from somebody that said, "This is exactly like me." And I was taken aback, but it was like made me feel so wonderful. Um, but yes, you know what? Think of your book or your voice as an extension of your book. You want people to read your book. Have those conversations with people, make connections. Don't be afraid of them. That's what's really gonna, make you blossom and make it grow into something. It's it's not just about writing a book. It's about building something more.
Mm-hmm. And Doug in the chat is sharing his thoughts here. I understand that feeling about not bragging or putting themselves out there, but I spent a number of years working with my wife trying and I think finally starting to succeed in getting her to understand it's not bragging. She's helping people, and to be proud of that. And I love that quote that you shared there, Liz. Marketing isn't the enemy of art, it's the amplifier. I think that's really powerful and such a great mindset shift for people who are transitioning more from, being the craft of a writer to a promoter, a book promoter. All right. We've got some questions trickling in from the audience here. If anybody does have questions, please do drop them in the chat. Before we get to that, though, does anybody want to share a book marketing strategy that maybe people told them to do, or they thought was going to be effective and actually, didn't work at all? In Miriam's talk, for example, something that stood out to me, she was saying, with Instagram lives, that she would go on Instagram lives, or her fellow colleagues would have these Instagram lives, and they would have maybe say 160,000 following, and they would have just a handful of people on there. So that ended up, she doesn't do that anymore. So is there anything kind of that stands out for you on tactics that just maybe they worked before, but in 2025 and then heading into 2026, these things, they're no longer as effective?
Ads. I would say ads.
Hmm.
We do a lot of click testing, and I will still do it. I'll still do all the click testing you want in the world, and I will give you all the stats and everything. But it's not like Mad Men, It's not like you're going to do this quirky ad about Volkswagen Beetle, because people don't do that on any of the ads. And I don't know why. That's another form of creativity, but they want the data on what is the best title, what's the best picture, what's the best color, who is all of this data. And I find it a waste of money and very stifling. And that's just my opinion. Please, if it works for you, please do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Nataly, what about you? Is there anything that you were doing maybe in those early days and now you just don't do anymore because they're not actually driving book sales?
Honestly, I didn't. I just started the second book. Already they're buying, but I didn't start working with my marketing manager, and we didn't do the press release yet. However, I think that I will not go insane for the reviewers, because the first time round I spend money like reviewers, and the thing is that if the reviewer, after reviewing the book and giving stars, is not going to help me to be going into contest the book, it's like it's not a big deal. It's like a propaganda thing, but in reality, it's not going to bring me more sales. Why? Because the audience had changed. People who are reading now are not the same people. People are listening to audiobook, and others are the new generation, are not going to go to reviews, even though it's sad, even though this is valuable. I'm not saying it's not valuable, but it is not a need that I will invest my money and time a lot like my first book. Honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. And there's different kinds of book reviews, of course. You can go through the paid route, kind of like paid media, or you have the earned media, and the same thing for reviews. And so it's interesting to evaluate whether that's helpful or not. Some author likes to have them for the back cover blurb. But if your goal is to actually drive book sales, it's good to evaluate whether that's really going to help you achieve that or not. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And Kim, what about you?
I would say be cautious how much money you invest, especially thinking that you can give it to somebody else to do and not show up, because the best marketing involves you. That's probably one of the biggest things. Is I thought, maybe I could get somebody else to do the stuff, but it's so much better when it's personal.
Yeah, that's I think a lot of authors do, because they are uncomfortable with marketing themselves. And so it's sort of going back to that mindset shift. It's sort of shifting the responsibility off. And of course, book marketing agencies can be really helpful, but it still requires engagement from the author. And, the most success that we've had with authors in helping them market their books are the ones that are really taking our advice and running with it. So not only utilizing our services, but then taking the information that we're imparting and then, executing that on their own. And that's when both forces join on. That's the most powerful. It's not something that you can totally delegate away. You still have to be involved as an author in book promotion for sure.
And that's one of the things why I said it's such a great combination to have people that are experts in it, especially if you want to write a book, but you have no idea about how to get it out there. I didn't even know what the IBS number was. I was like, what? So it was nice
to irritable bowel syndrome, but
it was great to have people that were there to help me out with that. But I was, they gave me direction and said, get out there. And even was like, you know what, I'm writing and I'm working, and like, really? But it was the best thing to work and do what they said.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. I mean, it's your baby, it's your project. And the more invested you are, then the better results you'll get. Definitely. Okay, we'll get to some questions from our audience here. So we've got one in the chat around audiobooks and any help or advice that you recommend for recording your own audiobooks. Interesting question. There's so many different ways of doing that these days too.
Why would you want to record your own audiobook? I guess my first question. I like ACX and I like having someone else record it because they have a following also. And I like having somebody else involved, invested in the project. So yeah, you can record your own audiobook. You need to make sure you have a really good producer, because they're very strict about audiobooks and how the files technically are assembled. I had someone who recorded their own audio, a client who recorded their own audiobook. One chapter was a little bit too long, but I know, because I worked in animation for a long time, I know that if you speed it up 7% or slow it down 7%, either way, the human ear can't hear it. So we got in just under the wire, but it is a very difficult process. And I highly recommend that you pass it off to a professional producer and a professional narrator.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this topic? Yeah. Thanks for the advice.
Publish in all the formats you can possibly publish in. You never know what
Yeah.
you want.
It's true.
Yes.
Well, I'm working on with a narrator now on ACX. This is my second time, and maybe this person was asking the question because they know how to read it. For example, me, I know how to read my book, even though I have the Armenian accent. So what I did is that every time that she's reading something, I told her, "Listen, Lindsay, here maybe you might say like this." So I review it because this is how I communicate. Just like Lee said, I mean, I cannot do everything, and I trust her, but maybe somewhere I am imagining the way that it should be read. It's like this, and she's not getting it because she's not in my head. And it could be said more than one way. So all I do is like I record my voice and message, and I say, Lindsay, maybe you will do like this. And that's what actually today happened because I was just reading something like, how is that possible? She's saying, for me, it shouldn't like had to be like that. It had to be like, how is that possible? It's like this. So she didn't get it. So I did it. Maybe that's why the person is worried or concerned about it. But believe me, the passion that these narrators have, it's amazing to have a teamwork and to be working together because it was the more the merrier. And, why not? And let's share it.
And yeah, a lot of the narrators, they're open to feedback, and there's so many easy ways, kind of with voice notes and things, to kind of get that cadence across of how you want it actually represented. But it's also, I always, I tend to think of, I listen to a lot of audiobooks that are nonfiction, but I know they're really popular with the fiction community as well, especially with moms, right? They're always multitasking and don't have time to read. And even like I was saying, I like to have read these romance novels, and like some of these, like, I mean, the actual like execution of the audio and the voices, and I mean, it's so elaborate these days. And you can get the ones that are, I forget what the term is, where there's like the background noise, like a door opens and there's a creak, you can get
Oh, yeah.
very highly produced audiobooks that really immerse the reader, and so it's definitely, it's such an interesting, expanding avenue with that.
We could do a whole session on audiobooks, how people
Yeah.
are made, how they're produced, how they're serviced,
It
I have
was
to
one
s-
of the things that I had no idea about and thought, oh, yeah, I could do the audio for my book. And then that's why it's not done, because it was like, what? Like, there is so much behind it. And then you start to listen and you can hear the difference from people that are really good at it. And then you choose those people over and over again, right?
Yeah, and the audiobooks, I see a lot of it. Speaking of TikTok and kind of trending things on social media, I see a lot of those audio clips being used in people's reels, with book talkers that are reading the book, and then they'll use the audio clip of that. So it's kind of just interesting to see how that's being used on the book promotion side, and it's sort of taking off in its own way. So it's a fascinating world. Okay, so I'm just going to get through some other questions that we've got coming in here. So from Ashley. Hi, Ashley. She's joining us from Australia today, another Australian. How reliable is Instagram for marketing? Do you find you bring in new readers there? Is anyone using Instagram for
Yes,
book
I
marketing?
use Instagram, but I find that it brings in new readers. My problem with Instagram is probably personal. My problem with Instagram is I got hacked at some point.
Ah,
And
Oh, yeah.
then I had to restart my account, and now I don't want to have anything to do with them. But as I said before, I use Substack, so I use that as the hub, and I always do a little video that I put up on Instagram anyway. Just because why ignore it? It's so easy to do, and
mhm.
I get hacked again, but likely I will.
Is that a big avenue for you, Natalie or Kim?
Use Instagram. I used it more around the launch of my book time to talk about it. But now I find that, like I said, I sort of more into LinkedIn and talking to my community in Facebook. You can't
Yeah.
be everywhere. That's like, and I'm not saying that it's not good or not bad. Choose the one you want and where you're comfortable in it.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, so talking about republishing your book after the copies at hand are gone. Talk about republishing your book after the copies at hand I'm
They're
not sure.
talking about a short run rather than a print on demand, I believe.
Okay. I
I've done
see. Yeah.
both. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, if it's a short run, that's, you're always playing a numbers game. So you have a short run of books and maybe you have a drop ship a place, a warehouse that's shipping. Um, you just have to keep an eye on it. And it's not fun and it's hard, but you can do it. You make more money and you can
Yeah.
also sell at different places. I mean, I always like a sales landing page. That's nice for a lot of books and stuff. But it's just it's difficult. You have to keep track of it.
Mm-hmm. All right. And Dia here writes, if I want to use LinkedIn for promoting a memoir, how do I navigate having my posts shared with the current connections, which are mainly professional? Should I have a new profile on LinkedIn? That's interesting. That's also, I think, can relate to other platforms. Do people continue with their existing platform and handle, which maybe has a large following, but is not the right audience, or do they rebrand and start a new account, whether it be LinkedIn or Instagram or what be it?
I would say probably there's two ways to go, like, and neither are wrong. So if you're focusing all of a sudden on your memoir and that's part of your story, and it's, if it has some of the history of what you did before, you could continue on, but you will lose some people that are maybe not interested. But if you want to keep your business separate than your writing, then I would say have two platforms
Mhm.
or two profiles.
Any other thoughts on that question?
I never change my profile because I think like this. Let's say now today I'm writing a memoir. Tomorrow I decide to do something else. Then I'm gonna have like one profile here, one profile there. This worked for me. So I started just an ordinary profile when I came to Canada from Lebanon, and people who follow me were people watching me on TV. And then I started posting things from my book. So these people slowly started moving away, but they came back, and other people came because this is me. So my book is part of me. I'm not a part of my book. So whatever is going to change, I keep my presence there and I let them be adapted to me. So if no new people come because I start sharing them in different communities and groups on Facebook, good for them. If not, I cannot just change my profile on new things,
Mhm.
and that's it doesn't work for me. I don't want to risk it. So it actually worked. Like now I have 8,700 followers on Facebook, but TikTok, it's a very fast moving. But
Yeah, one
I
advice.
trust Tellwell to do the rest.
One advice that I heard from somebody that's in that social media marketing space is saying, if you already have a large audience, it's great to start marketing to them. And you can
Yes.
actually write something and let people know that, listen, like, I am now an author. I'm going to use this space now to promote my book, or whatever it is. And if I understand if that's not relevant to you and you want to leave, like, that's okay. I understand. But from now moving forward, I am going to be promoting my book or whatever it is on this space. And I think that's a really classy way to do it. That let people know. So if they don't want to be kind of not spammed, but having a lot of that content brought up, then there's that space for them to leave.
Yeah, they usually don't leave. They just don't react. But other people, they
Right.
might share and other people might come in. They might not react, but after a while, they will come back. But not because you started doing something, your followers will leave. They won't do that. I'm not giving you a promise. I don't know them. I mean, we see sometimes things and we don't watch people's posts and then we get back,
Definitely. So we just have one last question here before we wrap up for the day. I think it's a good one to get to. So looking back now for someone who is writing fiction and is an introvert, good to add that in there, seeking traditional publishing, has zero platform. What's the first thing you would do to get traction?
Start an email list and just start. I mean, I don't. I have no great magical things except I can tell you how to. A real publisher, quote, real publisher, one of the big houses. What they do is you have, let's say, you have an agent or you have someone that's brought it into an editor, and the editor loves your book. Now the editor has to take it to the editorial staff and the publisher, and they need to vote on it. And how they're going to vote is not only how well that editor can sell the story, but how many people do you have following you, and what do we expect? How are we going to predict what the sales are going to be? I'm
Mhm.
not saying it's a good idea. This is just the way it is. And so if you start with your email list is the most valuable. They value it higher than being on social media, but they put together a little back of the envelope calculation of how many followers you have, how many people they think will buy the book, and that will affect your advance and also whether they publish it or not. So especially if you're a fiction writer, I would definitely write a newsletter because it's just more writing and it will help you in a myriad of ways.
Yeah, trying to get a traditional publishing deal with the zero following is extremely difficult. I think Tim was sharing a number yesterday where it was one publisher that they get 500 to 600 submissions per year and they choose 5. So just to give an understanding of those numbers, like the 5 you're going to choose are going to have the largest audience already built into their platforms. Did anybody else want to add their two cents to that?
Well, when I published my first book, I thought of the second one to go with a literary agent. And I said, am I going to spend all this time doing this? What if I'm going to spend nearly 6 to 7 months and being refused? In the meantime, I can go to the self-publishing company where I'm comfortable with. They are honest with me. They're trustworthy. And even if I'm going to spend a couple of thousands, it's worth it because I'm going to put it for my nerves and anger. And also it will give you low self-esteem. You will start doubting yourself. I'm not kidding. I'm a very, again, off filter. Really, am I that bad? Why am I not like this person, that person? And I said, you know what? When you know something is good, stick there, keep on working with these people because they're honest, they support you, they're reliable. And that's what I did. So, that's what I do. I never tried it. I don't want to try it. I don't know what the future brings, but even though I'm working on my third book, I'm still going to go with the same publishing company. I'm so happy with the services. And if we think don't shop for Christmas and don't do this. If you put them together, you can do self-publishing. That's it. It's not a big deal. And with the right publishing company, it's better than waiting for years. I'm sorry to say, maybe.
Yeah, on average, it takes.
But I'm sorry.
On average, it takes 2 years to be published by a big publishing house.
I just thought the numbers were so against you, and it was just such an uphill battle. But you know what? If you got a great story, and I would say, especially if it's fiction, maybe that is something that you want to try. But
Yeah,
it's
definitely. It's the best thing is to write and to get your book out there in whatever method you can, right? There's not a one size fits all. And definitely I'm glad, Nataly, and for everybody else, not to let those rejections to take that person to let it get in the way. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And even, sometimes there's people do have a following and a very loyal one, but it's too niche for some of these traditional publishers, too niche of a risk to take on, or even, whoever was here for the Dangerous Books talks. There's just a lot of taboo subjects or, themes that traditional publishers, they just don't want to touch, right? Because they're sensitive subjects. That doesn't mean that book is not worthy of reception, right? All right. Liz, I did want to just let you know that someone's asking, do you have a newsletter to the Substack followers? What's your Substack place? How can we check it out? So you might want to just drop that in the chat. And anyone else, for our panelists, if you'd like to drop in some, any other information on links where people can find you or social media handles, please feel free to do that. It is, we're a couple minutes after here, running over, so we'll wrap up. So huge thanks to our panelists for sharing their knowledge, insights, and experience with us today. Please drop your emojis here to show your appreciation for our wonderful panelists. We've covered a lot today, not only, today with the book marketing theme and also in this discussion, but over the past 3 days of the Empowered Author Summit. This is Tellwell's first time putting on this event. We've had a few questions about that. Yes, it's the first Empowered Author Summit, and we wanted to do something special for our 10 years in business, and that's why we are doing this event. We didn't quite know exactly what to expect, but we've been so thrilled with the caliber of our speakers, the value that's been delivered in the sessions, and to all the attendees, many of you who I've seen here all day over the past 3 days, I know some of you, Yvonne here joining us from Australia, where I think it was even overnight. I mean, it just shows the dedication and passion that people have for publishing. So thank you so much to everyone who's joined us, whether it's for one session or for all of them, for being part of this experience. Your energy and your questions and your passion for writing are what make this community so special. So from all of us from Tellwell Publishing, we hope that you leave feeling inspired, equipped, and ready to take on the next steps in your author journey. So thank you so much, everybody.